welcome back to Hey There Farm. Today we're going to build a grit bowl, or a grit and calcium bowls. I'm just going to build one, but eventually I'm going to build two for these guys because I'm tired of them spilling their grit and their calcium on the layers on the ground every day. We moved the chicken tractor, so the grit I usually put on the ground for the layers, but for these ones, they're my Canadian breasts, and right now they're just growing. They're just over 2 months. We're going to let them in the chicken tractor for now. So I want to move their grit with them instead of just pouring it on the ground, but they like to spill it every day. So we're going to build something for them today. All right then, let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to need is some wood. I have some 2x3, some 2x2. Doesn't really matter, whatever you have laying around. This is like a 2-gallon bucket, might be 2.5. Square tape measure, a drill with a 3-inch hole saw. You can use a 2.5 if you have it. Yeah, I got the impact driver, but whatever, you can use a drill with a bit, screws, and the circular saw. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to cut some of these. The pail is 8 inches across at the bottom. I'm going to cut these to about 9 inches because I want them to overhang a little bit, and weigh it down so they can't tip it over. So we'll cut 2 at 9 inches and then 2 pieces. These are 2.5, so we're going to 2 4-inch pieces in between. So that's how that's going to work. I'll show you after I got the pieces cut. Okay, now we have our pieces cut. We're going to screw these together, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, now we've screwed it together. We've got screws holding it all the way around. So that's that. Next we're going to drill holes in our bucket with our hole socket. We're going to do it about 4 inches from the bottom. No, I think it's 3 inches from the bottom. I will tell you when I'm done. Okay, we're going to mark it now. 4 holes on this, so at 90 degrees to each other. And we are going to drill them at 3 inches from the bottom. And there's room for the grit and stuff in the bottom. Okay, fair. You didn't see how I did this to get a 90 degree on here. I just started by laying the pail flat. It was sitting nicely somewhere when I started. Let's just put this here for now just to show you. I put the square on here on the flat surface, and the pail was sitting still at that time. And I went straight. And then after that, I put the pail up. We lined one part of the square with the line here, and then I drew the line this way, and then I flipped it, lined this part of the square with this, and then drew this line here. So that's how I marked that. And then I just transferred the lines down to here on all 4, and then I'm going to continue the line and measure 3 inches up, and that's where we're going to put the middle of the hole. There you go. Now we have our holes drilled. Next, we're going to mount it on our wood here. You don't have to do this, but I mount it on here, and then the chickens will have less of an easy time to flip it over. So let's do that next. Oh, okay, so what I did was I just cut some little pieces, just some scraps I had laying around, and this is like a 1x2, and then whatever, it doesn't have to be very long. This was probably about 3 inches long, but I'm just going to lay them in here. We're going to screw here, here, and I put the holes on the corners, so then I can have backing underneath here to screw them on. I'm just doing that because I don't want to use metal in here so it doesn't turn rusty. So I'm just going to put the screw. I know the screw might turn rusty, but they're coated screws, so they won't probably rust too fast. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, a little bit of a tip here. Our marks from before that we used, if you just line them into the corners, it'll make the corners line up exactly to your holes. Next is I put the screws in first through the bottom in the middle, and then it comes through in the bucket. I'm going to back them out one at a time and then put our piece on here to hold it, because most people's drills will not fit in a 2.5 gallon unless you use a screwdriver, but I don't want to use a screwdriver. Okay, so what I did there is when I put it in, it would start the hole into the wood, and then of course it would be a little bit loose, so I backed the screw back out, hold that tight in there, and there was already a hole started, and then I drilled the screw back in, and it was tight then. So these are all tight in here now. So the next thing we're going to do is put it in with the chickens and put some grit in there, and I'll make one for the calcium for my meat birds, and then I have a lid also for the calcium one, but the grit one I'm just gonna leave the top open. If it gets a little wet, it's all right. And I might drill a hole in the grit one too, so the water can drain out. Okay, let's go put it in the chickens. Okay, now we have some grit in the pail. We're going to now put it in with the chickens. Okay, now we have it in there. They're all getting ready to sleep now. It's pretty late. It's getting dark now. So, thank you for watching Hey There Farm, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Like and subscribe if you like the content. Thank you.